Yo, what's the crack, boys? The 3P is arguably one of the most desired achievements in team sports. Obviously, take away the individual side. 3Ping, and is obviously the hardest thing to do. So many things come, not just in the NBA itself, every sport. You gotta keep the team together, chemistry's gotta be on point, no drama's gotta happen. Injuries, which definitely is probably the number one killer of 3P dreams. We saw with the Warriors, they were so close to do it. Obviously, Bill Russell on that back then, they won 11 rings. I mean, we're not counting that. Sorry. But, MJ and that, they could have won 8. Let's be real. They could have won 9, if they had a better front office. If things played differently. 6, obviously, is an elite number of rings to get, especially, 2 3-peats. That might never be done again. MJ retired, could have won 2 in the seasons he was gone. Obviously, he came back, but, it just wasn't the same. He wasn't in shape. Hadn't played basketball in a while. Obviously, the Lakers and that, they ran into their stuff, the Spurs and that. It's just very hard achievement to do. And like I said, the Warriors, KD got injured. They would have won that series if KD didn't get injured. They still swept the Blazers, and then they came in. KD did try to come back, obviously, but, it was just a huge mistake. Injury got worse, and then they lost. It's got me thinking, when will we see another 3-peat? Will we even see one this decade? Obviously, every time someone wins a championship, they're inclined to win a 3-peat. Obviously, the Nuggets are very good. They could easily go back-to-back. And who knows? Like, do you know what I mean? You say it with every team. Oh, no, this time it's different. Like, do you know what I mean? The NBA is just so talented now. And now you have these young teams which are coming up. Some teams are, bound. Some of these young teams are bound to make the playoffs. The Thunder, they could really 3-peat in this decade. Obviously, like, these teams are very mentioned. It's, quite the end of the decade, 2025 plus. The Houston Rockets, I made a video on them. Their young core and future is mental. They have all those picks as well. They can trade for a superstar. They could trade Fred VanVleet's contract and Dylan Brooks' contract, plus their picks for a superstar if they wanted out. Just because the salary works, all those picks. Obviously, if you're gonna get a superstar, you're gonna have to give up more than Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, obviously. But obviously, so much. The Spurs, Wembanyama, they could do it. The Orlando Magic could do it. So many other teams which I can't even mention are, can win it this decade, even next decade. But we're mainly focused on this one. Obviously, we'd like to think someone will 3-peat, in the very far future. But I'm specifically talking this decade. A lot of things have to go right, which is what makes it so hard. For the Denver Nuggets right now, they're the champions. They're the most likely to win a 3-peat right now until, we see someone else. Very much well inclined to. They have the best deal in the NBA, best role players. They did lose Bruce Brown, which is tough. Got a great coach. They're on pace, but also, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. A lot of things you have to go right. Injuries, like I said, this is the main killer. Your third best player gets injured, or, forbid, your best player, then it's completely over. Obviously, if you're third or fourth player, it's just really hard to, actually get to that level again. Because, what the fuck? Anyway. Obviously, one thing about Denver Nuggets was obviously Jokic and Murray, but then it was like, the rest of the team was like, not just as good, but it was like, wow, these players, their role players are elite. Especially their system, the way they play, their chemistry and all that. They're on the path to win a 3-peat. They obviously need to win next year. But all it takes is literally just to land wrong on your foot. Boom, your ankle's gone. You're out for a few months. The whole flow of the team's done. This could even happen in the playoffs. Even some team drama could happen. The Warriors, we all know that Draymond punch completely ruined their season. It wasn't the same. Even Draymond would probably admit that. They could have went back-to-back this year. They were so good. They were such a good team. That one instinct of just a punch just ruined it all. Now they got Chris Paul on the team. Like that, the dominoes from that will be talked about for years after. I think the Warriors are going to be good, but this Chris Paul trade is going to be a disaster. Champions for next season, obviously there's a lot of contenders. Nuggets should be, number one on the list. If they go back-to-back, I would bet on them to... that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why 3-peating is so hard. Obviously, it's very, it's a lot easier to see if someone's going back-to-back. When the Warriors went back-to-back, they still had KD and all. You weren't expecting that injury, so you're like, yeah, they're going to win a 3-peat. Everyone was expecting it. I was expecting it. Injury happens. That's why it's so hard to be this great for this long a time, especially with the parity in the NBA. A few years ago, it was just the Warriors. The Raptors were still good. They had the Bucks, but it was just the Warriors in their own. Now, in the NBA. There's so many good teams. You have about 10 teams that... You have about 12 teams that are like, okay, we can win the championship this season. That's how competitive the NBA is. Players are getting even better. It's just getting harder. Now, if I had to predict, I'm saying we're not seeing a three-peat this decade. If we are, it's going to be 2026, 2027, you know, to be honest, like 2030. Obviously, it's kind of hard to pick the NBA now. Obviously, we are seeing like a lot of the young guys come to the league who are going to be, you know, in their primes in the 2030s, who will be winning the championships. I just think the NBA is too good. I don't know if anyone will even go back to back this decade. That's how good the NBA is right now. Obviously, I'm going to pick the Nuggets right now to win the championship. Lakers will be up there. But back-to-back's definitely possible. Three-peat, I genuinely think it's going to be very hard for a team to do that. It would be cool to see. People call it boring, whatever, bro. Like, do you know what I mean? It is still history at the end of the day. Obviously, same champion 3 years in a row in 4 different calendar years. Okay, I get it. I do get that. It's like, oh, we want to see different champions. Obviously, the MVP race has been, obviously, Jokic and Embiid. Jokic and Giannis, and then Embiid won it. But still, I think it would still be good to see a three-peat. Obviously, it is better for parity to see different champions. It is definitely a whole lot better to see different champions every year. But a three-peat is still historic in itself. I don't think it's happening, though. Maybe the Nuggets go back-to-back next year, and then, you know, end of the decade, you know, the Magic, do you know what I mean? The Thunder, you know, maybe push a three-peat. We'll have to see, though. I doubt it, though.